Manas, Hare Krishna, Shayan Shripatra. Shayan Shripatra is our new student starting class from today.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. And we have Subhadra Sundari Mataji joining our class today.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavad Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. I feel the pressure is so high now if we are also attending the class.
Oh no, Mataji, I'm just a kid learning from you. I feel they are so fortunate, these kids, that they're getting your, gracious presence and teachings, that I'm feeling like,
We are the fortunate ones, Mataji. Every time Vishnupriya Mataji and I talk about how these kids are obviously so great, so blessed, and that we are so fortunate that because of them we are getting to improve in our understanding of the scriptures.
Haribol.
Okay, and it's already on live now, and I'm just going to send the link. Okay, sorry, 2 minutes late. We can start the class now. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining today's class. And today is, anyone can say which chapter we are going to cover today?
Chapter 9.
Very good. Pratik, very, very good. And we are also going to revise first 5-10 minutes or 20 minutes maximum on the chapter 8, what we saw last week. And are you all ready for the chapter 8?
Yes, Mataji.
Before that, there be a few things. One is we are going to have a Mangalacharan prayers. And as usual, our virtual classroom etiquette is to have your videos on maximum possible. And then attendance important. Please be attentive in the class and try to take notes. It's very important for you to take notes as well. Okay, start from the Mangalacharan prayers. Who is going to do the Mangalacharan prayers? Anyone? Raise your hand. Avigyan, are you raising your hand for Mangalacharan prayers or no? Oh, Avigna. Avigna is raising. Okay, Avigna, you can start actually when you're ready.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanditam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyayeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauravaktarinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so much, Avigna. It's very beautiful Mangalacharan prayers from you. And we will start with our revision of chapter 8. Before that, Avigna and Bhavya last week asked one question and we wanted to answer that question and then we jump into the revision. Remember, Avigna and Bhavya, what question you asked? Can you tell?
Mataji, I asked what was the difference with Brahma Jyoti and Vishnu Lok. And I also asked if the people from Brahma Jyoti can be go back to Golok Vrindavan.
And
Similarly, I asked something very similar to that. I guess in Brahma Jyoti, what happens? Like if they want to stay there, something like that.
okay, good. Let's quickly go. At least I'm very happy that you remember what question you asked. Let me quickly go into that slide to show it to you. You know, this is the spiritual world, spiritual sky and the material world down there, right? This is what we saw last week. And the Brahma Jyoti is the effulgence of the spiritual, Krishna's effulgence is spread across in the spiritual sky that here we see. Anyone from this material world who is meditating upon the impersonal form of the Lord will go into Brahma Jyoti. This is what we saw, correct?
Yes,
This much we are sure. After that, there is a Vaikuntha Loka planets where all the other forms of the Lord, they have a different planets. When the people are meditating upon the different forms of the Lord, they'll go into the respective Vaikuntha planets. And beyond that is the Goloka Vrindavan, where when we meditate, when we do the devotional service at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Krishna, then we go into the Goloka Vrindavan, right? This is the path. But the question is, when we are in Brahma Jyoti, can we elevate to Goloka Vrindavan from here, or we have to come down to the material world? So there was Nishita Mata did try to answer your question, but we have with references. We did ask a question also to Sundar Gopal Prabhu, our president, and he helped us to answer as well. So those who meditate on impersonal form of the Lord will attain Brahma Jyoti. Do they have to come back to material world to go to Goloka, or can they elevate from Brahma Jyoti to Goloka? First answer reference is here. Maybe Avigna, can you read this one?
Okay, Mataji. Someone may say that aside from devotees who always seek shelter at the Lord's lotus feet, there are those who are not devotees, but who have accepted different processes for attaining salvation. What happens to them? In answer to this question, Lord Brahma and the demigod said, O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet.
Thank you, Avigna. We'll go into a couple more slides, then we'll discuss a little bit about it. So next slide, I want Bhavya to read this.
Okay. CC Adilila 5.31. Those who attain Brahma
Sayujya.
Sayujya liberation cannot gain entrance into Vaikuntha. Their residence is outside the Vaikuntha planet. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 5.32. Outside the Vaikuntha planet, in the atmosphere of the glowing effulgence, which consists of the supremely bright rays of the body of Lord Krishna, Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 5.33. That region is called Siddhaloka and it is beyond the material nature. Its essence is spiritual, but it does not have spiritual varieties. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila 5.39. Beyond the region of ignorance, the material cosmic manifestation lies the real realm of Siddhaloka. The Siddha reside there, absorbed in the bliss of Brahman. Demons killed by the Lord also attend that realm.
Okay. The previous, thank you, Bhavya. The previous slide actually, previous slide shows that, I mean, it was from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where demigods was worshipping and they were actually glorifying the Lord about this. And they say that any non-devotee, but who are doing severe penances and austerities to attain salvation, which is basically the Brahma Jyoti, the salvation of, they wanted to go merge into the Brahman. That is there. They actually, here they're calling it as non-devotees. And they will go into the spiritual sky, but eventually they have to fall down. right? But much more clarity is they cannot enter into Vaikuntha planet according to CC Adi. Here you can see that it's a supreme bright race there. They cannot enter into Vaikuntha planet, but who will also be residing apart from Siddhas, those who meditate with severe penances and austerities. The demons killed by the Lord also go to this Brahmajyoti only. They will not go beyond that. They'll not go into Vaikuntha planet either. They'll go to that realm. Okay, but much more clarity is here. Let me read this one. Parampadam or the Vaikuntha planets can be achieved only by devotional service. The impersonal Brahman region is also called Parampadam. But unless one is attached to the personality of Godhead, one must again fall down to the material world from the impersonal Parampadam situation. This clarifies your doubt, Avigna and Bhavya. They must fall down to the material world from the impersonal Parampadam situation. It is said that, therefore, Aruhya Krichena Parampadam Tataha. The impersonalists endeavor very strenuously to achieve the Parampadam or the impersonal Brahmajyoti, but unfortunately, being bereft of the relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they come down again to the material world. If one flies in outer space, he can go very high up, but unless he reaches the planet, he must come down again to the earth. So Brahmajyoti is still kind of floating. It doesn't go into any planet. So he has to come down. Similarly, because the impersonalists who reach the Parampadam of the impersonal Brahmajyoti do not enter into the planet, they come down again to this material world and are given shelter in one of the material planets. Although they may attain Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, or all such planets are situated in the material world. They may go into the higher planets within the material universe, but they cannot go into Goloka Vrindavan. So one last reference is this. Sorry. Prabhupada was actually answering one of the questions. Regarding your question, what is the difference between spirit souls comprising Brahmajyoti and spirit souls here in Maya? In Brahmajyoti, the spirit souls on the account of impersonal views are devoid of a body exactly like here in Maya. There are ghosts who are devoid of any ghost bodies. The ghost being devoid of body, he suffers terribly because he is unable to satisfy his senses. The spirit souls in Brahmajyoti, although they have no desire for sense gratification, still they feel inconvenience like a ghost. And they fall down again in Maya's atmosphere and develop a material body. In the Bhagavad, therefore, it is said that persons who are impersonate and do not develop the dormant devotional attitude, their intelligence is not pure. Because for want of a spiritual body, they come down again to the material world. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly said that by the Lord that only way of not coming back to the material is to be promoted to the spiritual planets. For the impersonalists, there is no such assurance of not falling down in the whole Vedic literature. The conclusion is that without developing the spiritual body and without being situated on one of the spiritual planets, the so-called liberation is also illusion. Or it is not complete. A spirit soul who falls down from Brahmajyoti to the kingdom of Maya may have a chance of associating with a pure devotee, and then he may be elevated to the spiritual planets of Vaikuntha or to Goloka Vrindavan. From Brahmajyoti, there is no direct promotion to spiritual planets. This is a clarity here, and is clearly stated in Bhagavatam that such souls fall down Patanti Adha. So I'm stopping here. Clear on this one, Bhavya, Avigna, and everybody else, in fact. Clear, yes, right? Okay. So they cannot go into any of the spiritual planets. They have to fall down. In fact, material platform is much easier because we chant Hare Krishna, we do the devotional service. With the pure unalloyed devotional service, we can directly go into Goloka Vrindavan. But when we go to Brahmajyoti, it is definitely a very indirect route. You really cannot go further. You have to come down and again associate, again do the devotion service, then only you can go into the spiritual planet. All right. So I think I'm another 5 minutes. I'll ask questions for the chapter 8. Are you ready? The question.
Mataji, I have a good analogy for how to explain Brahmajyoti. So when we take the elevator, right, when we take the lift, so if you're on the 9th, there's 2 floors, 9th floor and the 10th floor. Imagine 9th floor is the material world where we are at, and 10th floor are the spiritual planets. Brahmajyoti is like the space in between, right? So if this is an intermediate step on your way to spiritual planets, sure, you can go through it. But if you're hoping that I will just get stuck between the 9th and the 10th floor, and that is not a permanent situation. You will, if the lift fails in the middle, it will come down. and then you can come back to the 9th floor, and then you can take the stairs or whatever to the 10th floor. So that intermediary space between two floors, that's the Brahmaji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Very nice. Clear, right?
Yes.
No more questions. Okay. I think I have few questions for 8th chapter, but I might run out of time because Nishita Mataji have quite a number of slides to cover today. So I'll just go on the very high level. 5 topics. Do you remember all the 5 topics of chapter 8? Krishna's answers to Arjuna's question. Yes, Manas raised the hand. Yes, Manas. One already there.
So then the topic after that is
Yes.
remembering Krishna at the time of death.
Yes. Next one.
Remembering Krishna through meditation and pure bhakti.
Very good.
Material world via spiritual world and supremacy of pure bhakti in attaining Krishna.
Very good. Very good, Manas. Excellent. The next question I have is, what are the question Arjuna asked? Can somebody else say? In the 8th chapter, first 1 or 2 verses, Arjuna asked some question to Krishna. What are the question? Abhigan, you raise the hand. Is it for the answer? Okay. No, you have lowered your. So the question asked is what is Brahma? Brahman, Adhyatma, Karma, Adibhuta, Adidaivata, and Adiyagya. Remember this one? These are the questions Arjuna asked, and Krishna explained Brahma is the living entity, Adhyatma is the nature of the living entity to serve Krishna, Karma is our activity that directs our development of the material body, and Adibhuta is the material conceptions that where all the 6 types of growth has happened, and Adidaivata is the universal form of the Lord, and Adiyagya is the super soul where Lord is sitting in everyone's heart. He just explained it. After that, there was 2 questions. Why we have to remember Krishna at the time of the death? Can somebody say? Why? Yes, Abhigya.
Krishna at the time of death because essentially by Krishna at the time of death, we can go back to like Krishna.
Perfect.
But
So,
yes. If we like think about material stuff and then we stay in this material world.
If we remember someone else, what happens?
We'll become something related to them, like their dog, their friend.
Whosoever we remember, we become that. Correct? So there are 2 verses in 8th chapter, Antakale Chemam and Yam Yam Vapi. So you have to remember these 2 verses. So it is very important to remember at the time of death, Krishna. But is it possible for us or not? Can somebody say? Okay, the third question, leave it the third question I'm asking. Remembering Krishna at the time of death, is it how easy it is? Yes, Bhavya.
It is easy if we have done remembrance throughout our life. So if there is chanting regularly, maybe.
Good, I'm happy. I mean, I'm very, I like your positive attitude. Although throughout our life, we practice also, it is not guarantee we remember Krishna at the time of the death. But there is a chance, right? If you don't practice, there is no chance at all because Krishna is purest of pure. And to even think of purest of pure, we should be pure. The impure soul cannot think at the time of the death. So we have to purify ourselves. So when we have to purify, not at the time of the death, but throughout our life. What is the process to remember Krishna throughout our life?
By chanting?
Yes. Prabhupada easily, I mean, Yoga Dharma Sankirtan or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and throughout our life, we practice it. And with the devotional service and love of Krishna, it is possible, right? There is no guarantee though, but it's possible, very much possible. And what we need to do to remember Krishna? This is what we said, chanting, right? So you already mentioned. Let me go into the 10 ways to meditate on the Supreme. Do you remember that? What are the 10 ways? Okay, there is a slide in the 8th chapter. You just go and see Kavin Puranam.
Mataji,
yes.
Is it? Yes. I don't remember all of them, but I remember the smallest of all, and the Purnam is complete.
Yes.
Yeah. And there were
Yes.
so many others as well.
This is good, Bhavya, but you have to remember all. And yes, yes, Manas. Manas raised the hand as well.
So, knower of everything,
Mm-hmm. Correct.
ruler,
Mm-hmm.
oldest, all was born out of him,
Mm-hmm.
smaller than the smallest,
Mm-hmm.
maintainer of everything,
Very good.
luminous like the sun,
Mm-hmm.
transcendental.
Yes.
He is a person,
Yes.
inconceivable.
Rupam, yes. Yes. Remember, when you think of Krishna, you cannot just think Krishna as an ordinary person. And when we meditate, we have to really know this is inconceivable potency, how much he's, although he's like an anu, smaller, he can go into the smallest of the smaller. We know that the heart, sorry, our soul is how small it is, 1/10,000 of the tip of the hair. So even he can go inside that much smallest, but you can imagine how much big also. Remember, we talked about the universe forming from his pores. The exhalation and inhalation is the birth and death. I mean, the annihilation of the universe. That much huge is, and that much small is. It is totally inconceivable for us to even imagine about Krishna, how big the Krishna is, how small is Krishna is. So you have to meditate upon Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a way that he is the Supreme. Okay. And then let me go on to the question. How to remember Krishna through meditation? We talked about meditation, right? There are two ways to remember Krishna, of course, yes. And through meditation is where there is one portion in each chapter we saw. Can somebody remember some of the points?
Mataji, is it bringing the air between the eyebrows and then
Very good.
meditating upon that?
Yes. Correct. Correct. Let me quickly go into that. So fixing the life hair in between the eyebrows, and then under undeviating mind, just focusing on it, and detachment from all the sense objects and sensual enjoyments, chanting Om, engage in the remembering of the Supreme. Om is what?
The Lord, Krishna.
Sound vibration of the Lord, right?
Yes,
No
yes.
form actually. So
Sound
sound
vibration.
vibration of the Lord. And then detachment from the sense enjoyment. All those things, like basically controlling the senses, controlling the mind, but then doing a lot of austerity and penances and bringing all this focus into one and bringing life. That's how we remember Krishna, through meditation. But what is the other way is
Bhakti yoga. To
Bhakti
practice
yoga.
Vishnu.
Absolutely. Devotional service, which is the easy way. You do your duty, just do he is also telling, right, Arjuna, just go and fight, do your duty, but remember me. So Krishna, remembering Krishna in every single action that we do, drinking the water, the taste of water is Krishna. That's how we think. So that is also, that's a way, that another way where we can remember Krishna, but that's absolutely the best way. And what we need to do to remember Krishna? I think this one is a repeat question, right? To chant. Highest planet in the material universe. What is the highest planet in the material universe?
Brahmaloka.
Absolutely. Is it possible to go there and stay happily forever?
No.
Why?
Because
Why,
we go there,
Sanvi?
enjoy and come back.
Why we cannot stay there happily? Sanvi, can you answer?
Mataji, we cannot stay there forever because we enjoy there and then we fall down back to the world.
Perfect. But why we cannot stay there? Why we have to fall down?
Mataji,
Yes, Ashrit?
Mataji, because it's material, and everything that's material is temporary.
Very good. Material world. Still within the material world, still subject to the miseries, and we have to fall down. Very good. And what is that? What is Divya Yoga? We talked about material universe and spiritual universe, material world and spiritual world. What is Divya Yoga means? Anyone?
Mataji,
Yes, Avigyan.
Divya Yoga is the four yogas put together.
Excellent. And what is, how many Divya Yugas are one Kalpa?
Mataji, 100.
Sorry?
I think 100 Divya Yugas are one kalpa.
Not right. Avigyan, anyone else want to try? Nanda? I think Nanda is telling. Adrit?
70,000.
70,000. Wrong, Adrit.
Mataji,
Yes, Avigna?
1,000.
Yes, Avigna. 1,000 Divya Yugas are one kalpa, and one kalpa is one Brahma's day. Another one kalpa is one Brahma's night. So from where does Lord Brahma come? Yes, Bhavya? Coming
From the
from
navel of Lord.
which Lord?
Mahavishnu or Garbhodakshay Vishnu?
Mahavishnu force a universe is coming. Each universe have one Brahma, and then Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is where his navel Brahma is coming. So you have to remember this, which Vishnu appear. Three types of
Okay,
annihilation
Mataji.
will happen. Death of a human body. What? Someone is. Can you? Who is that? Loud disturbance is there? Can go on mute. Adrit. Maybe Adrit, can you go on mute, or Pratik, can you go on mute?
I think it's Nanda's. Mataji, I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's
Nanda.
Nanda's mic.
I muted him. Okay. Alrighty. So three types of annihilation we talked about. So death of a human body. Can anybody remember what are the three ways the death happens? One is the death of a human body when naturally we die, right? That one. The another one is Brahma's
End.
end of Brahma's day. End of Brahma's day. When it ends, we all go back. Then end of Brahma's life. That is 100 years of Brahma. Three ways that annihilation will happen. Okay. Then the nature of spiritual world, you all know, spiritual world is not like material world, not temporary, it's eternal, right? There are one slide we have.
Transcendental.
Yes. So please remember that slide. I'm not going to go much. I think that's all I have. There is one more slide we discussed about how the yogi or the karma kandis, they pray when at the time, what time they will leave the body and they come back or not come back. Please revise that slide. We will have all these questions again as a some kind of quiz in the coming weeks or sometimes later, because this one I think I only wanted to go very quickly and we give much time, more time to Nishita Mataji. Sorry Mataji, I thought I'll finish by 12:20, 10 minutes past. I'll hand over to you for chapter 9.
Okay, Mataji. I'll set up the screen sharing. Okay, which chapter are we going to do today?
9.
Okay,
Nine.
who can tell me what is the name of this chapter? While I set up the screen share. What is the name of this chapter? No one knows? No one knows? Mataji even put that in the agenda today.
Mataji, something around the confidential jewel, something like this.
Jewel.
I don't remember the name.
The most confident.
But it was, yeah, something like this.
Is it something?
Confident. Go ahead, Manas.
The most confidential knowledge.
Very good. Yes, the most confidential knowledge. What does confidential mean? What does confidential mean?
Secret, kind of. Very.
Yes, confidential means secret. So when you want to share your secrets, do you just write them in a book and publish them? No, right? So it's so interesting that Krishna has given this most confidential knowledge available to us in the form of Bhagavad Gita. Right? Look at how merciful the Supreme Lord is, where he's saying, okay, so it's like, okay, so if there's a secret about me, right? And it's very like, I only want my closest friends to know about this, right? I don't want everyone, I'm not going to publish it in the newspaper, there's a secret about me. But Krishna is so merciful that he's saying, all the information about me, I'm going to share with you, Arjun. So it's available for all the devotees and anyone who wants to learn about me. That's how merciful he is. That he tells Arjun, this is the most confidential knowledge. And obviously, Arjun is just a medium. Realistically, this knowledge is all available to us. So that is the supreme mercy of Krishna. So yes, this is chapter 9 and chapter 10. Actually, I have some I have some slides later. But remember we talked about it when we were talking about chapter 6. We talked about how like the most important part of our body is the heart, in the center of the heart, right? The most important part, if you were to go to a beach, where you see these seashells. So when you open, there's a pearl in the middle. The most important part is the center of that seashell, which is the pearl. So the most important part of Bhagavad Gita is the center of Bhagavad Gita, which is chapter 9 and 10. So remember in the beginning when Mataji was doing the introduction, she mentioned how first 6 chapters talk about, what do they talk about? Karma, then bhakti, and then gyan, right? So chapter 7 to 12 are talking about bhakti. So even within chapter 7 to 12, 9 and 10 is the heart, is the most important part. So this week and next week is the most important part. So in Hindi, this chapter is called Raj Vidya Yoga. What does Raj mean? Raj.
King.
King, yeah. So this is the king of knowledge, all the knowledge. So don't be like, oh, this is only the king of spiritual knowledge, but really the king of chemistry is what I study in school. No, this is the king of all the knowledge that exists. Okay, this is the king of all the knowledge. That's how important this chapter is. Okay, so can someone tell me why is this called the most confidential knowledge? Any guesses? Why is this the most? You should be like, Mataji, all the things that Krishna has shared so far, that is also like confidential. Why is this the most confidential knowledge?
Mataji, maybe it's like the most important thing that we have to do in bhakti to reach Krishna.
Very good answer, Avigna. Very, very good answer. What is that most important thing? What is that most important thing you have to do to reach Krishna?
Mataji, bhakti.
Yes, bhakti. What does bhakti mean, Sanvi?
Mataji, bhakti means that you can reach Krishna by chanting or doing kirtan or reading Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, so like all of you are attending this Bhagavad Gita class on Sundays. So if you attend this Bhagavad Gita class, you're doing bhakti. Does that mean that you're going to go back to Krishna at the end of this life? Why not? But that is bhakti, right?
I wish, Mataji.
So what do you have to do? Yes, Nanda.
Bhakti, sorry, the background my weakness and my strength. Bhakti means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord.
Yes, but so imagine that's what you're doing right now. So by doing this every Sunday, can you go back to the Supreme Lord?
Constantly, I was doing constantly.
Constantly. That's the important thing. That's the important thing. Constantly. Thank you, Nanda. Thank you for answering that. So, bhakti is not, oh, Mataji, I've done my 16 rounds today already. I have booked my ticket to Krishna. I've attended my Bhagavad Gita class. I booked my ticket. No. Bhakti is, remember when we study Nectar of Instruction, verse 8, what is the last line? Kalam naye dakhilam itupadesaram. That to 24/7 to engage in the service of the Supreme Lord, that is bhakti. And that is what is pure bhakti. And that is what this chapter talks about. So, oh, okay, wait. Yes. So why is this chapter the most confidential knowledge? So in chapter first we are setting up the scene, right? In chapter second and third, Krishna gives Arjun the preliminary knowledge about the soul, about our identity, about body, about karma, about actions. Thereafter, he answers Arjuna's questions around renunciation, around karma. Then seventh chapter he starts talking about bhakti. So he's talking about devotional service. He's talking about his own energies. He's talking about how I'm the taste of water. He's talking about all of his multifarious energies, right? He's giving more information about himself. And he's telling us a little bit about devotional service as well. And we said about Nishkam Karma Yoga earlier also. In chapter 9, he's telling us about pure and unalloyed devotion. So there's an important verse that we studied in 8th chapter, which talks about this. Who can tell me what this verse is? Does anyone remember? Even if you remember what the context of that verse was.
Mataji,
It
was like talking about like whatever thing that you do at the time of death or something
Yes.
like
Yes, that was a different verse though. So in 8:14, Krishna is saying that if you nitya yukta saha, ananya chetasa. So if you have no other, if your mind is not deviated in any other place, and you're always thinking of me, and you're always united in me, then surely you will come to me. Right? That's what he tells Arjuna. So that bit, which is constant engagement in Krishna's service, that is pure and unalloyed devotion. What does unalloyed mean? What does unalloyed mean? Yes, Bhavya.
Mataji, pure, without any contamination.
Yes. So does everyone know what an alloy is? So an alloy is a combination of multiple metals. Okay, so when something is not alloyed, it means that something exists in its purest form. There's no impurity, there's no mixture of anything else. That is unalloyed. Okay, so it's not like, oh, Mataji, I love Krishna, but I also love chocolate a lot. But I also love all these other things a lot. No. Krishna is like this. I should be your only one true love, should be Krishna. Okay, that is what unalloyed is. So this is why this is the most confidential knowledge, because Krishna is revealing the glories of pure unalloyed devotion. Can someone read this? Yes, Priyanka.
Mataji, me.
Okay, there are a lot of slides to read today. So Priyanka, you start, and then I'll ask the others also.
Just as a pearl is hidden within a shell, or as a king travels surrounded by an entourage, the entourage, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita is hidden
Uh-oh, Priyanka got frozen.
Hmm.
in the ninth chapter, Krishna and the most secret of all secrets. He explains the essence of Bhagavad Gita, the perfection of spiritual practice, and the ultimate goal of life.
Right? That's what we just discussed as to how the secret of all secrets is hidden in the middle of Bhagavad Gita. And again, really think about it. This is the most secret thing that exists in the world, and Krishna has just publicly made it available to everyone without any, without any considerations, without any biases, without any prejudice, without any classification that, oh, you need to be so learned or you need to be so dedicated. He's like, no, the secret of secrets, freely available how you can come to me. Okay, so there's 4 sections in this chapter. And again, this is a very important chapter. There's 4 main sections. So firstly, Krishna talks about the knowledge of pure bhakti, as to what are the prerequisites for you to be able to hear this knowledge even. Then he talks about his inconceivable potencies. What does inconceivable mean? What is inconceivable?
I'm sure you all know this. We did study this so many times.
Avigyan, do you know the answer? He's raising his hand to read.
Inconceivable means like it's like there and it's like immortal
There.
kind.
Huh? Oh, it's there, but it's not there.
Mataji,
Yes. Yes, Bhavya.
is unconceivable means we are unable to capture him through our like senses or our mind maybe because
Yes.
he's so out of something that's not easily understood.
Yes. Unable to understand with the material senses. So remember in
Yes,
Ishupanishad also we studied he walks but he does not walk, he's here but he's not there. So
But they
Abhigyan, you were
did
talking about a symptom, yes. So in inconceivable is I cannot understand it. Like how is this possible? Right? If I'm in Singapore but I'm also in India, you'll be like, Mataji, what? How is that possible? So those are the crazy things, the mystical things that the Lord does. So Abhigyan, you were also right, you were partially correct, and Bhavya, you're correct. That inconceivable means something we cannot conceive, something we cannot understand with the material senses. So what is the prerequisite to understand him? You all know this verse, Brahma Samhita. So if you cannot understand him using your material senses, then like what? Why am I trying to study the Bhagavad Gita? Why am I trying to do any service if he's anyway saying you cannot understand me? Why am I trying so hard? How will I understand him if he himself is saying I'm inconceivable, you cannot understand me? So quiet. Everyone is so quiet.
Through unalloyed devotional service, is it?
Yes, what is the verse? What is the
What?
verse from Dhamma Samhita?
Nice
How can
question.
you see the Lord? How can you see the Lord? If the Lord is inconceivable, you cannot see him using your material senses. How can you see the Lord? Manas?
Right.
Sorry, Mataji?
There are so many verses they know. Just try some verses at least.
Yeah, so in Brahma Samhita, just throw out a verse now. Okay, your eyes need to be anointed by. Just giving away the answer. Just translate that to Sanskrit now. Beautiful. Yes, Nanda. What does that mean?
That means like things below. Like
Yes.
I don't like to say things
Yes.
below relation.
Yeah.
Like
So
only the pure devotees can see in the heart.
yes. So we can only conceive the Lord, or we can only see the Lord, or hear the Lord through senses that are purified by devotional service. Right? So premanjana churata bhakti vilochanena. So the eyes anointed with love, with unalloyed love for the Supreme Lord. That's when you can see him. So the prerequisite to be able to conceive the inconceivable Lord is to purify ourselves, is to build love. So it's so beautiful if you think about it, where the Lord is saying, Dekho, I do not come in anyone's control. You cannot even understand me. But if you love me, then I will truly give myself to you. And then you can understand me, you can see me, whatever. So it's so beautiful where all he's saying is, all I need is your love. And if you love me, I will let you understand me. I will become your servant. Like Krishna, he's the devotee of his devotee. So he's saying, no one can understand me. No one can even try to understand me. Doesn't matter how hard you try, whatever scholar you are, how much austerity you do, cannot understand me. But if you build your love towards me, I myself will give myself to you. That's how supreme and supremely loving the Lord is. Okay, so that's what we'll talk about in the inconceivable Lord section. The third one is he then goes about to tell us what different types of worshippers are. Right? So how different people understand different forms of the Lord and the kinds of worship that they do. And then towards the end of the section, which is very important, he talks about the glories of pure, unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord. All right. So the first section is knowledge of pure bhakti. So again, this is like a pearl found in a seashell. Can someone read this verse?
Mataji, can I?
Yes.
Mataji, can
Yes,
I?
Avigna will read, then later on Sangi will read.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te yuha kurya tammam pravakshyamyan
Oops. Sorry.
pravakshyamyan nastyuya vijnanam vijnana sahitam yad jnatva mokshayes subhat.
Yad gyatva mokshaye subhat.
Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of miseries of material existence.
Very nice. So there's some important things here. Can someone explain to me what he's saying, what is telling Arjuna here? There's some important things he's clarifying, he's calling out. Okay, so he's saying, Arjun, because you're never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. So there are two very important things here. One, Krishna is not saying that, Arjun, let me just give this knowledge to you. He's saying, no, there's a prerequisite to you getting this knowledge, and that is that you have to be non-envious. What does it mean to be non-envious? Yes, Priyangi.
It's like not to be jealous. It's like
Yes.
to be wanting to be Krishna or having good qualities like Krishna.
Yeah, so non-envious means to not be jealous of Krishna. So see, at the end of the day, why did we take birth in this material world? Because somewhere or the other we were envious of Krishna, right? Everything in the spiritual world is about serving Krishna, about doing things for his pleasure. But somewhere or the other, we wanted to be the lords ourselves. We wanted to do things for our pleasure. So we were envious of Krishna, and that's why we came to this world. But as we become a devotee, as we build our love towards Krishna, we become non-envious. So Krishna says the only person who can understand this knowledge are people who are non-envious. And that's why, see, it's very important. There are so many commentaries on Bhagavad Gita out there, right? Bhagavad Gita is the most translated Indian text. Why do we only read Bhagavad Gita as it is? Why do we not read the other Bhagavad Gitas?
Mataji,
Yes.
Mataji, because first of all, it is not translated properly. It is also full of their own understanding, which can be correct and not correct.
Mm.
And it's also not exactly what Krishna said, but Bhagavad Gita, as it is translated by Srila Prabhupada, is exactly did to did whatever Krishna had said.
Yes. Nanda?
And also, these people are envious persons, and people who are envious cannot explain the science of the Bhagavad Gita or Krishna perfectly.
Exactly. Exactly. Krishna himself is saying only people who are non envious of me can explain the science perfectly, which means that the person by definition has to be a pure devotee of the Lord, which means only commentaries written by pure devotees of the Lord are the ones that can be understood, that should be read. Right? And that's why we read commentary written by Srila Prabhupada, translation written by Srila Prabhupada, because he's a pure devotee of the Lord in the disciplic succession, which we studied in the introduction, remember? That's why, so this is very important. See, Krishna himself is telling us, he told us about disciplic succession in chapter 4. He himself is telling about non-envious nature. So he himself is telling us as to what commentaries or the translations of Bhagavad Gita we should be reading to understand him. Only one who is a devotee of the Lord will be able to understand the Lord exactly as the Lord wants. Okay, so here's an example. If you want me to, if I'm your very good friend, only then can I tell others about you, right? Accurately. If I'm not a good friend and I'm envious of you, then my communication to others about you will be distraught, will be impure, right? I will not be able to explain to you exactly how you are. So that the person has to be a friend of Krishna, devotee of Krishna. That's why, remember we studied Krishna also says, Arjun, I'll give this knowledge to you. Why? Because bhakto si mein sakha cheti. You're my bhakta and you're my friend. You're my devotee and friend. Okay, so this is very important. The prerequisite to understanding this knowledge is to be non-envious of Krishna. And the second thing that's also very important here is see, jnanam vijnana sahitam. What does this vijnana realization mean? Can someone explain this to me? What is this vijnana? What is Vigyan? Gyan, to everyone understands it's the knowledge. What is Vigyan?
Science.
Okay, what is that? What is that science? If he's giving knowledge, what is that science he's saying? I'll give to you. Also, I want everyone to participate. I'm only seeing 3 or 4 people speak, and everyone else is quiet. I want to hear more of you. What is Vigyan?
Mataji,
Yes.
is it realization?
Yes, Priyanka, it is realization. What does realization mean? What is realization?
It's like knowing Krishna. It's like trying
So,
to.
okay, can someone tell me what is the difference between knowledge and wisdom?
Wisdom is, I think, material wisdom, but then knowledge is spiritual knowledge.
Not always, not always. Knowledge can be material or spiritual. See, the difference between knowledge and realization is this. Anyone who's read Bhagavad Gita has knowledge, right? Anyone, because you've read Bhagavad Gita. Is it necessary that they're all devotees of the Lord or that they're applying what they've studied as well? Or they've understood the Bhagavad Gita also? That is the difference between knowledge and realization. To be able to understand it, experience it, know how to practically apply it, that is realization. Understand the difference between knowledge and realization. I might have the knowledge, but I might not understand it very well, or I might not know how to practically apply it or how to experience it. Right? That is the difference between knowledge and realization. And that's why Krishna here says, I will give you the knowledge and realization. So knowledge to theek hai, you can get by just by reading Bhagavad Gita. How do you get realization? How do you get realization? How do you understand that knowledge deeply? How do you put that into practice? How do you know how to put it into practice? Yes, Avigna.
By following the instructions of your spiritual master.
Yes, by following the instructions of the spiritual master, by associating with devotees. And Krishna, in fact, as you go through the purpose of this chapter, Prabhupada says again and again that you build this non-envious nature. You understand this knowledge by associating with devotees. Okay, so it's very important for us to understand. See, if we were all to hear the same story, your takeaway from the story might be different from my takeaway of the story, right? Even though we are all getting the same knowledge, we are hearing the same story. So that realization, that takeaway is given by who? Paramatma, who's sitting within our hearts, because all the intelligence, understanding comes from him. So that realization is given by Krishna himself, based on how sincere we are, how devoted we are. And that realization is strengthened in association of devotees. Okay, and that's why Krishna doesn't say, I'll just give you the knowledge. He says, I'll give you the knowledge and realization. The realization is very important. Even academic scholars can be knowledgeable. Realization is what's important for us as devotees. And that's why the more service we do, the more we become realized. The more we associate with devotees, the more we understand. We understand the essence of what Krishna's instructions mean. Okay, so again, this knowledge is given by hearing. You have to be of non-envious nature to be able to understand this knowledge. And this is applicable for all the knowledge in Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna gives him the knowledge and the realization. Now let's go to the next verse. Sanvi, can you read this?
Yes, Mataji. Rajya Vidya Raja Gruham Pavitram Dhamutram Parakshanganam Dharmayam Sushakam Kartam Avyam. Translation: the knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because gives the direct position of the self by realization, it is the perfect of religion. It is everlasting and joyfully performed.
Yes. So see here again, he's describing about this knowledge. It's the king of education, the most secret of secrets. It is the purest knowledge. And it gives direct perception of the self. So you can experience this knowledge as you put it into practice. It is the perfection of religion and it is very joyful. So remember, I asked you a few classes ago where I was like, when do you feel happy? And some of you were like, Mataji, when I'm in kirtan, when I'm chanting and stuff. That is the beauty of this knowledge. It is joyful. Devotional service is extremely joyful. Right? What does it mean? Okay, so let's talk about Pavitram Uttamam. Pavitra means pure. Right? Uttam means like the purest. Pavitram Uttamam, purest. What does it mean for a knowledge to be purifying? What does it mean for this knowledge to be purifying? What is a purifying knowledge? Mataji, it is the knowledge on how I should take a shower in the morning, which soaps to use, how to scrub my hands. What is purifying knowledge?
Make you pure.
Pure.
Vrindavan.
When you say pure, we have to think about what is impure. So clearing the impure is pure, making pure, right? So what are the impurities that we have? Then you know.
Last.
Last, yes.
Realize.
Vivek, yeah, you were saying something?
Like realization, like taking knowledge and we can realize that knowledge, we can become pure.
Yes. So, yes. So purifying knowledge means one that does away with, absolutely as other people said last, more than anything, it does away with this, with the seeds of sense gratification in our heart, right? That is what purifying knowledge is. That we don't have cheto darpan marjanam, right? Cleanse the mirror of the heart. What is the dirt on the heart? sense gratificatory desires. So clearing those desires, that's why it is the most purifying knowledge. So remember, we studied about how for every action you do, there's a reaction. Right? So every time you do an action, be it karma or vikarma, you have to take another birth to suffer the reaction. So Prabhupada explains to us how each of these reactions is like a little seed. Right? So let's go through this. How many of you have heard this saying, as you sow, so shall you reap? A few of you, right? So what does it mean? It means that whatever seed you plant, you're going to get a fruit of that seed. So I cannot plant a mango seed and be like, oh, but I really want to get a banana. That's not how it works. Or I cannot plant a banana seed and think I'll get mangoes. No, whatever seed I plant, I'll get the same fruit. So any action that we do is a seed. And to every action, there's a reaction. What goes around comes around. If to every action, there's a reaction. So as I plant this seed, the seed will grow into a little sapling. It will grow into a tree which gives its fruits. If it was a seed of action, then I have to bear the reaction. If it was a sinful action, then I have to bear a sinful reaction. So remember, we talked about this chain of action and reaction, chain of action and reaction. So this is what keeps going on the entire time. And as long as the cycle of action and reaction goes, I have to take birth in this material world again. Right? So this purifying knowledge does away with the seed altogether. It does away with the fruits. It does away with the sapling. This purifying knowledge is one that does away with all of these reactions, which might be at different stages. Some might be seeds, some might be saplings, some might be trees, some might be fruits. So it does away with all sinful reactions. And once we are cleansed of all sinful reactions, what happens? It's as good as purifying the heart. There's no more, when there's no more action, right? There's no more action that's making us come back to the cycle of birth and death. So that is what this purifying knowledge means. In fact, there's a beautiful analogy of what our condition is when we are making these actions. In Bhagavatam, we are compared to a silkworm. So what a silkworm does? A silkworm, it eats a lot, and then using its saliva, it gives out this thread, which makes a cocoon. And then the silkworm ends up getting trapped in its cocoon. So it's so fascinating, right? That I myself am spitting something out which is entrapping me. So the Bhagavatam says we are like silkworms, where every activity we do actually ends up trapping us more and more in the cycle of birth and death, right? Because every activity I do, I have to bear the reactions of that activity. So every activity ends up trapping me more and more and more and more in this material body. Just like a silkworm, as it puts out its saliva, it ends up getting wrapped and wrapped and wrapped in a cocoon. So it's a beautiful analogy in the Bhagavatam, which says that the foolish living entity is always acting as per the modes of material nature. It's like a silkworm that uses its own saliva to create a cocoon and then becomes entrapped in it with no possibility of getting out. This network of fruitive activities leaves him bewildered, and repeatedly he dies. Right? Remember, that's why we talked about renunciation, and the way you do a karma is by doing devotional service, by doing everything for the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, every single thing you're doing, it's making sure that you take another birth. And that's why Krishna says in 18th chapter, Sarvdharman Pritajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo. I'll make you get rid of all sinful reactions. And these sinful reactions are not just, oh Mataji, because I did something bad, that's sinful. No. Any action, be it pious or impious, is going to make you come back to this world. All of that is being put in that sinful reactions bucket. So he's saying, I'll get rid of all reactions so you can come back, so you don't have to come back to this material world and you can come back to me. Okay? And that is why this knowledge is called the purest knowledge, because it purifies us from those seeds, saplings, and trees of actions and reactions. And of course, it is very joyfully performed. It is very easy to perform. In fact, it is so easy to perform that there are so many kids who became great devotees. Who can give me examples of such kids who became great devotees of the Lord?
Mataji Dhruva.
Very good. Dhruv Maharaj. Who else?
Prahlad Maharaj.
Very good. Prahlad Maharaj. Who else? Who else? One more very good example. Think. Huh? Jiva Goswami.
Yeah.
Okay, can. Jiva Goswami also can. Who else? Okay, who does this? Narayan. Who does this?
Mataji Narad.
Yeah, who was yes, so much excitement. Who was Narad Muni in his previous life?
Son.
Yeah,
He was Upakarna.
so many. Okay, and how did he become a pure devotee of the Lord? What was he doing as a maidservant son?
Mataji, he was doing meditation upon the Lord.
And not as a maidservant son. What did he do before that? As before he before he learned he had to meditate on the Lord. What did he do before that?
He took an offering of
Yeah, he would honor the remnants of the pure devotees of the Lord. Remember? So whatever remnants there were in the sages' plates, he would honor that, and that's how immediately he became a pure devotee. Right? So that's how easy devotional service is. Even and it's so easy to perform, and even little kids can take to it. So Narad Muni is also a very good example. Okay, so we're running behind on time, but there's so much to cover. What are the prerequisites to receiving this knowledge? So one prerequisite we just heard, right? We said it was non-enviousness. What is the other prerequisite to receive all this knowledge? Like, what are the qualities you need to be able to receive this knowledge? One is non-enviousness. You need to be positively inclined towards Krishna. What is the second one?
Mataji,
Hmm.
we have to realize
Yes, but you will realize after you have the knowledge. What is the prerequisite? Like, what needs to be true for you to even receive this knowledge? Yes, Nanda.
You need to be faithful.
Huh?
You need to have faith. Be faithful.
I couldn't understand what you said.
Faithful.
Faith?
Yes.
Faithful.
Yes. Faith, yes. Exactly. So, two most important prerequisites of gaining this knowledge: non-enviousness and faith. What does faith mean? To have faith in something, what does it mean? What does faith mean? Huh?
can I say?
Yes.
Mataji, I think faith means like you believe in someone and you have full belief on him, like whatever he says is true and you follow
that
him.
is like, see, that is a different there can be different degrees of faith also. So what you're saying is the ultimate faith, even basic faith, right? What is some basic faith? The basic faith is something like, oh, if I have want to go from Singapore to Pune, then if I take a Vistara flight, there is some basic faith that the flight will go to Pune and it will not take me to California, right? So the faith is some trust that you enlist. So there's basic trust. So to understand, to receive this knowledge, one has to be has to have a friendly disposition towards Krishna, be non-envious, and second, he has to have faith. Like, so if Krishna says, I'm the Supreme Lord, and you're like, oh no, 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 I don't think so. I think I'm the Supreme Lord. Then we're not going to get any knowledge. We won't be able to understand anything. So we also have to trust him. And that's why, remember, in the fourth chapter we study, fourth chapter 434, what do we study? How do you acquire knowledge? By submissively inquiring from the spiritual master. Tat vidhi pranipatina. Remember? Submissively inquiring. What is that submissiveness? That submissiveness is, yes, I accept what you're saying. So this is very important for all of us to understand. See, there's a lot of things as we grow as devotees. There's a lot of things we might not be able to understand. Right? So many things we might not be able to understand. There are two ways to approach it if we cannot understand something. The first way to approach it is, I can't understand that, so you must be wrong. Right? The second way to approach it is, I can't understand that, so maybe it's okay, I'll understand it later. Maybe I cannot understand that right now because I'm not advanced enough. I will be able to understand this later. Understand? So if you don't understand something, see, we have so much faith in our material mind and our material senses, but we know that there's air around us. We can't even see the air, right? There's so many things that we just trust. We just trust those things because that's how it is communicated to us. So we have to have that basic trust and basic faith in Krishna's words also, right? Because if we start challenging everything, anyway, the Lord is inconceivable, so we cannot understand him with our material senses. So then you have to accept what the Lord is saying, right? So when we are little kids, remember we ask Mama, Papa, Mama, how does this car work? Mama, how does this work? How does that work? And then they explain, oh, and people ask, Mama, how did I come about? How was I born? Right? If Mama says, oh, beta, the car works because there's an engine in there, and you're like, no, I don't think so. I don't think there's an engine in there because I can't understand how an engine would work. Well, That's your mistake. That's because you're not smart enough to understand, because you're too young to understand it. Understand? So many things we take on faith because we have that confidence in mama, we have that confidence in papa. So here we have to have confidence, we have to have faith in Krishna. Okay, so the one of the prerequisites of understanding or receiving this knowledge is faith. And Krishna goes into detail as to how important it is to have faith, to be able to understand him at all. Real faith, and this is what Avigna was saying, real faith is complete conviction that if I just serve Krishna, I'll attain all perfection. Real faith is that there's nothing I need beyond Krishna. And how is it that we build this faith? This faith is built in the association of devotees. So when you spend time with devotees, you experience, when Krishna talks about austerity, when Krishna talks about the happiness that's felt, when within amongst devotees, you can experience and you can see how advanced devotees live their life. You can see how I think I often talk about how Vishnupriya Mataji is such a good example. Like you see all the Matajis doing so much seva during festival like Janmashtami, when they are on nirjal fast, they're not eating or drinking anything, and they're constantly doing service 24/7. And I'm like, this is not humanly possible by anyone. And it is only possible for devotees of the Lord because of the Lord's mercy. Right? So many of these things you are validated in association of devotees. So how is faith built? Faith is built by experiencing it, right? So how do you know that a Vistara flight from Singapore will take you to Pune and not to California? Because, well, you've heard that that's what it does, and because you've experienced it yourself also. 4-5 times you'll take it yourself, and you'll be like, yes, that is where the flight goes. So faith is strengthened by experiencing. And that's why we chant, that's why we read, because we can experience, we can have first-hand experience of what serving the Supreme Lord is. We can have first-hand experience of of the taste that surrender gives. Everyone with me? Any questions? Okay. So we're going to move on to the next section, which is the inconceivable Lord. We talked about this a little bit already. But again, so conception is understanding something with my mind. So when you conceive of an idea, the child is conceived in a womb, right? To understand or to grasp something. Inconceivable is someone who cannot be grasped, someone who cannot be understood. And that's why one of the names of the Supreme Lord is what? What is the name of the Supreme Lord that says he's beyond the senses or beyond the mind? What is that word? What is the name?
Mataji?
Yes.
Mataji, is it Achintya?
Yes, Achinta also you can say someone you cannot comprehend. The perfect one is Adhokshaja. Someone who's beyond the conception of material mind and senses. Someone who's transcendental to these senses altogether. Adhokshaja. So in this section, Krishna is telling us about himself and his relationship with the living entities, the demigods, the universal manifestation. So we're basically getting to learn about his capacity, his greatness, and just how incapable we are to understand or to comprehend this. Okay? So we talked about this a little bit in the 8th chapter also. So Sanvi, can you read this? Actually, no, Sanvi already read this, na? Who can read this? Priyangi also already read, Avigna also read. Manas, can you read this?
Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtina mattani sarva bhutani nachaham te avasita. Unmanifested form, everything rests in him, personal form, not law. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them.
Good. What does unmanifested mean? What does manifested mean? Avigyan, focus. What does manifested mean?
Manifestation means like the form that's like Mataji, I know the meaning, but I don't know how to explain it.
It's okay. Manifested is something that can be the form that can be seen by the material senses. Okay? And unmanifest is something that the material senses cannot see. So he's saying by my unmanifested form. So the sense that you cannot, the form that you cannot see with your material senses, I pervade the entire universe. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. So what does it mean? We know Paramatma is in everyone's heart. So why is Krishna saying I'm not in them? Yes, Nanda. Nanda's hand is raised. Pratik's hand is also raised. What does this mean? Chetna?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah.
Mataji, it means that like qualitatively we are equal with Krishna, but quantitatively he is more than us. So he's not in us.
Yes. So this is important to understand because when we talk about the most confidential knowledge in chapter 9, Krishna is talking about his personal form. Right. So if you look at, so remember the whole conversation we had about Brahma Jyoti and Vaikuntha planets. What is the difference between impersonalists and us? That we believe in the Bhagavan Roop of the Lord, the personal form, right? That's why Prabhupada uses the word supreme personality of Godhead. Right? He says Krishna is a supreme personality because a lot of times people can be like, oh, Krishna is this energy, oh, Krishna is just, something, it's like this energy. But Prabhupada says, no, Krishna is a person and he's the supreme person. And that's why the Krishna, the Sham Sundar form of Krishna, you see, is the supreme personality of God, of Godhead. So here Krishna is saying, by my unmanifested form, I pervade the entire universe. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Here the I is his personal form, his Bhagwan Roop, his Sham Sundar form. Right? He's saying, I am not in them. But my unmanifested form pervades the entire universe. And a very beautiful, so there's three important things here. The first one is his unmanifested form, which is his energies. Right? Yeah, even as Paramatma, he's pervading the entire universe. Through his energies, both matter and spirit, he's pervading the entire universe. So everything rests in him. And third, through all of this, so a lot of times people argue, oh, if Krishna is present in everything, then how can he be a person? But that is the inconceivable nature of the Lord, right? He can be the verse we have read, Om Purnamadam, right? He can be full as a person himself, and still he can be present in a similar capacity in everything that's present in the universe also. That's his inconceivable nature. Okay, so there's three important things here. One, he manifests everything through his energies, directly or indirectly. Second, everything rests in him. And third, even through all of this, his personal form of Shamasundar form, the Supreme Personality, is not lost. And the most perfect example of this is, remember when Yashoda Maya asks Krishna to open his mouth because he's been eating dirt, and what does she see inside?
Full Brahma.
Huh?
Brahma. The planets, all of the galaxy planets.
Brahma also, planets also, everything, the entire manifestation is inside of Krishna. How is that possible? Entire manifestation. And that's exactly what he's saying here, that everything rests in me. Right? And one easy way to understand this is this. Say, like in India, right? Narendra Modi runs the government. So everything that happens, even at the district level, some way or the other, it is under Narendra Modi's guidance because he's the final person who's accountable. But is he personally involved in what's happening at, like, say, the Bareilly district station? He's not, because he's appointed his officers to do everything, right? He's appointed his regional ministers, regional officers, regional member of parliaments, everyone who's doing as per what he's saying. So Krishna, everything is happening based on Krishna's order. But he's not personally involved in those situations because he set up this computer program. When you set up a computer program, everything is happening as per your orders. But I am aloof. I don't have to be involved here. The program is running as per my instructions already. Okay? That's what's happening. That's how he runs the entire cosmic manifestation. Next verse. Mitra, can you read this?
Okay, Mataji. Sarva Bhutan Vidya Praktim Yanti Mamikam Kalpa Punastani Kalpura Visjami Aham. Translation: O son of Kunti, at the end of the all material manifestations and enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another, by my potency, I create them again.
Yes, very good. Mataji, can you explain this for 1 second? I'll be right back.
Okay, Mataji.
Sorry. Be right back.
Okay. So this is Sarvabhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaye Punastani Kalpada Vishrami Aham. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. This one we have seen it, we have heard it and learned it many times. Can somebody tell what does this actually means? The picture is also there.
Destroyer and creator.
Yes, material manifestations enter into my nature at the end of the millennium. Basically, as we said that, right? There is one verse in Brahma Samhita, Yasyaika Nishvashita Kala Mathavalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandana Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagad Jiva. All these material universe are coming from the Loma, which is the pores of the Mahavishnu, I mean the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, sorry, Mahavishnu. It's coming, the universe, every universe is coming. This is what it's saying. So every universe is coming at the exhale of the Mahavishnu, the universe is coming out. And then the moment he inhales, the universe goes inside. The universe comes out and goes inside is the one universe life of one universe. And one life of universe is one Brahma's life, which we know, right? Then here Krishna is telling that at the material manifestation, all this happens at the end of the millennium and at the beginning of another millennium. This is happening. It's all happening in under my this thing, and I create them. This is what he says, right? Krishna creates them. And although it's a Mahavishnu is one of the plenary expansion of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is the cause of all causes. Mataji, back to you. I just explained them to them about the exhalation, inhalation, the Yashaika Nishvashita Brahma Samhita verse, which is
Perfect.
that.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. And again, as we just discussed, the way this happens is through his energy. So Krishna is not spending time being like, oh, I need to create, oh, I need to distract. No. It's like a computer program that's already set in place. Krishna's energies are already working. So he's not personally involved in these things. His energies are doing the work for him. Okay, constant creation and destruction. Next verse. Can someone read this? Lokesh? Okay, Chetna. Chetna, can you read this?
Yes, Mataji. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. The Supreme Director yet aloof. The material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again.
So what is he saying here? He's basically saying, I am the supreme director. I am the one who's figuring out this actor is going to do this actor is going to do this is what the script is going to look like. And once I've defined it all of you have to just act. Right? So I'm not personally involved once I've defined the script already. So Krishna just glances at the material energy, and that's how all the living entities are. All the living entities that were merged after annihilation, remember, based on all of their past deeds and desires, all of them take birth again. Okay? That's the kind of bodies they get based on their past deeds and desires. So he's saying, under my direction, everything, be it matter or spirit, is produced, and Durga, which is Maya, is working under my direction and taking care of creation and annihilation periodically. So he's the one who's setting the supreme manifestation into motion. In fact, and this itself is so inconceivable, right? And scientists don't even have a good understanding of the many planets, of the distance from the sun, of are there other universes, are there aliens, are there not? And Krishna is saying all of this, I'm not involved, my energy is taking care of this. In fact, all of this manifestation is taking care of, is just 1/4 of his energy. right? Ekapada vibhuti. So in the entire manifestation, the material manifestation is just 1/4 of the creation, right? In the entire creation, material manifestation is just 1/4. So all of this is just 1/4 of Krishna's energies. Okay, and he's a supreme director and very disconnected, and his energies are the ones who are doing all the work for him. Okay, so with this, we move on to the third section. So we've covered two sections so far. In the first section, Krishna is telling us about how confidential this knowledge that he's sharing with Arjuna is, how one needs to be non-envious, and how one needs to be non-envious and faithful to be able to even hear this knowledge. And he's the one who gives the realization of knowledge, and how realization and faith are both strengthened in the association of devotees. In the second section, we are learning about the inconceivable Lord, Adhokshaja, Achintya, one we cannot quite understand with the material senses, but we can understand once our senses are purified by devotional service. We can understand them using our spiritual senses. And when do our material senses become spiritual senses? When our heart is fully cleansed of material desires. And this knowledge is so purifying that it gets rid of all of these seeds, all of the desires for sinful actions or reactions in our heart. And then we hear about the inconceivable Lord. We hear about how everything in this manifestation is working under his direction. He's the one who's responsible for creation and annihilation. And now he's a supreme director. And how he's the one, through his energies, pervades everything in the universe, yet still retains his personal form. Okay, that's what we've learned so far. So now we're going to move on to different types of worshippers of the Supreme Lord. So see, now Krishna has explained his different qualities, his different opulences. He's also talked about his personal form. But still there are people who misunderstand Krishna. There's still people who misunderstand the Supreme Lord. And he's saying based on different people's understanding. See, that's why you remember we talked about knowledge versus realization. Everyone can have the same knowledge, but realizations are different. And whether how good of a devotee you are is based on how realized you are. Remember, we say this person is very realized. We don't say this person is this person has learned a lot of verses, or this person has read a lot of books. We say this person is a realized devotee, where this person has understood a lot of the knowledge, right? Understood bhakti. And that's why Krishna says that the prerequisite is not scholarship, is not lots of academic study. The prerequisite is to serve me, is to build your love for me, is to love me. Okay? So now we are saying that even though Krishna clearly talks about his capacities, his opulences, his energies, different people understand Krishna to different degrees, and based on that, they worship him. So this is a very important verse. Can someone read this? Avigyan, I think hasn't read. Avigyan, can you read?
Param bhavam ajantanto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Translation. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that.
Yeah, see, this is so important. So our philosophy and like our understanding is the absolute truth of the absolute truth is Bhagavan, right? Krishna as a person. So Krishna himself is saying that, when I appear in my human form, fools or atheists deride me. They don't take me seriously. They think it's a childlike form, or they think it's some ordinary human being. And he's saying that person is a complete fool. He's a complete muda. This word, muda, this one means complete rascal, complete fool. So he says these foolish people do not understand me when I appear in my human form. They do not understand my transcendental nature at all. Transcendental, everyone understands, right? Beyond the material world is transcendental, spiritual. Sanvi, can you go on mute, please? So he's saying they don't understand my spiritual form at all, and that's why when I appear as a human, they think I'm a child or I'm an ordinary human being. So this is a very, very important verse because here Krishna is clearly talking about his personal form. Right? Very, very important verse. So I want all of you to remember this. He's clearly talking about his personal form. He's saying when I appear in my human form, these foolish people just take me lightly. They think I'm an ordinary person. So there's a very important story about a Muda versus a Bhakta. What is a Muda again? A Muda is a foolish person.
Doesn't understand Krishna.
Yes, who doesn't understand Krishna. And Bhakta is a devotee. So one time, Narad Muni was going to Vaikuntha. So along his way, he met a Brahman. Right? The Brahman said, Hare Krishna, Narad Muni, where are you going? He said, I'm going to Vaikuntha. He says, oh, wonderful. When you see the Supreme Lord, can you ask him as to after how many lifetimes can I come and see him? Like, after how many lifetimes I'll go back to him. He says, okay, I'll ask him. He keeps going. How many of you know the story, by the way? How many of you heard the story? A few of you? Okay.
I know.
So many of you. Very nice. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Chetna, can you tell us the story?
Yes, Mataji. Mataji, I had actually read this in a book, so I do not remember it properly.
I'll help you.
Yes, Mataji. So after Narada Muni met the Brahmana, he was then again going on his way. Then he found a cobbler. So the cobbler asked him that, "Oh Narad Muni, where are you going?" So Narad Muni replied that he was going to Krishna. So the cobbler said that, "Please ask him when I can reach him, like reach his abode." So Narad Muni said, "Okay." Then he reached to Krishna, and he asked him, and he told him about these two people, the Brahmana and the cobbler. And then he asked Krishna when those two people can reach him. Then Krishna said that the Brahmana will reach after many lifetimes, but the cobbler will reach him like very soon. So Narad Muni again went back and told the Brahmana and the cobbler. So the Brahmana was a little bit angry. So he asked him like, why? Like, I'm meditating upon him, and I'm doing so much of meditation. Then why can't I go sooner? Why do I have to take so many births? So the Brahmana, so Narad Muni couldn't say anything. So the Brahmana asked him to go to Krishna again and ask him like why he can't go sooner. So the Narad Muni went again to Krishna. Then Krishna said to Narad Muni to ask the Brahmana if he can, if Krishna could put an elephant through the hole of a needle. So
You're almost correct, Chetna. Yeah. So Krishna says that you go to the Brahmana and you go to both of them and you tell them. So basically, he goes to the cobbler also and he tells the cobbler, you will return very soon. So Narad Muni goes back and says, but how is it that the Brahman will come back after so many lifetimes and the cobbler will just come back after one lifetime? So Krishna says, okay, when you meet them, you tell them that when you saw me, I was trying to thread an elephant through a needle and you will get your answer. Right, Chetna? So he then goes to the Brahmin, and the Brahmin says, okay, what was the Lord doing? And Narad Muni says, oh, the Lord was trying to thread an elephant through a needle. And the Brahmana says, you Narad Muni, you're lying to me, huh? But as if the Lord he'll thread the elephant through the needle, huh? That is such a crazy thing. I don't think you saw the Lord. I don't even think you went to Vaikuntha. You go from here. And he goes to the cobra and he says the same thing, that the Lord was trying to thread an elephant in the needle, and the cobra is like, oh, my great Lord, my supreme Lord, of course. And Narad Muni is very surprised. Narad Muni says, are you not surprised that an elephant is huge, a needle is so small? Are you not surprised that the Lord is trying to thread an elephant through the needle? He says, not at all. Look at these huge banyan trees. They come from such small seeds. When the Lord can put such a huge tree inside a small seed, then it's not difficult for him at all to thread an elephant through a needle. Such a beautiful story, right? And that is when Narad Muni understood the difference between why the cobbler will go back to Krishna after this lifetime, whereas for the Brahmin will still take a lot of many births. Because of this complete surrender. Because the cobbler was a bhakt. Right? Because the cobbler was like, sure, I cannot understand with the material senses, but the Lord is all powerful, so he can do the most inconceivable things also. But the Brahmin did not have that confidence or understanding. So see, that is the difference between a Muda and the Bhakta. So who was the Muda in this case?
The Brahman.
The Muda was the Brahmana, yes, and the Bhakt is the cobbler. So the cobbler had complete confidence, had complete faith in the Supreme Lord, right? And had complete surrender to the Supreme Lord as well. So that is the difference between a Mura and a Bhakta. A Mura is like, oh, his human form, what do you mean he's doing these crazy things? What do you mean he can lift Govardhan Hill like this? What do you mean he's doing this? He's dancing with girls, whatnot. That is a Mura who does not have complete understanding of the Supreme Lord. And the Bhakta is one who says, anything inconceivable, obviously my Supreme Lord can do. Obviously he can. He's all powerful. Okay, everyone with me? Okay. So we now need to understand a very important concept. The concept of Ananya Bhakti. And we read about this a little bit in the 8th chapter also. In 8:14, this word comes up. Ananya. What does Ananya mean? What is Ananya? What is Anya? What does Anya mean?
Mataji, like something other, like
Yes, something other. Anya, or others. What does Ananya mean? Ananya is no, not other, nothing other. Okay? So Ananya Bhakti means fixed Bhakti, pure Bhakti. Understand what does that mean, pure Bhakti? So has anyone heard the phrase 24 karat gold? What is 24 karat gold?
Pure.
Pure gold. What does that mean?
No metals mixed.
Nothing mixed, huh? Pure gold. That is Ananya Bhakti. Pure, complete pure, nothing else mixed. So no deviation, no, ki, oh Mataji, today I did my 16 rounds already, I did some reading already, so now I can go and watch some movie in the theater. I'm done with my bhakti. That is not how it works, okay? Bhakti is not a checkbox. And this is very important to understand. See, everything that Prabhupada has made it easier for us, but at the end of the day, what is the goal? The goal is not to be like, oh, 16 rounds done, oh, reading done, finish. The goal is to build love towards Krishna. The goal is, if you think about it, remember what we studied in 8th chapter, to remember Krishna at the time of death, which is the final exam. If I were to give you a surprise test, you'll be like, oh, I'm not prepared. But death comes like a surprise test. Death does not come say, oh, your final exam will be on March 23, 2026. And so you have so much time to prepare for it. No, death is a final exam that comes as a surprise test. Right? So it's basically your entire life you have to prepare for this final exam. And you also don't know the date. Think about it for a second. So the most important exam in your life is that of death. Right? And then you're like, oh, but I don't know the date of this exam. So what will you do? If I say you have to do one exam in your life, which is very, very important, but I don't know the date, any day that exam can happen, what will you do?
You will prepare for the exam immediately.
On all the time. Right? You'll prepare for it all the time because you'll be like, oh, if I don't prepare for it and if I forget, and what if Mataji gives me the surprise test right away? That is what death is. That is how serious we have to be about remembering Krishna. So goal, and see, how can you remember Krishna at the time of death? As Mataji was asking, is it easy? It's not easy at all. Not easy at all. Normally, we cannot remember Krishna all the time. And during death, there's going to be so many troubles, mental, emotional, bodily, whatnot. The only way you can remember Krishna at the time of death is if you truly love him. So the purpose of everything that we do, the goal is to build that complete love towards Krishna. If we say your mothers, your mamas might be doing kitchen work, might be doing office work, whatever. But they'll always remember, they'll be like, Khana khaya, did you eat food or not? Did you do this or not? Right? They'll always remember you. It's not like if mama goes to office, she forgets about your food or she forgets about your health. No. Whatever mama is doing, she'll always remember you. Why is that? Why? Because she's put a phone reminder that every 1 hour I have to check on Avigna, every 1 hour I have to check on Priyanki, did they eat, did they not? Is that why? How does she manage to remember you all the time? How does she always manage to remember, oh, did my kids eat or not? Or did my kids sleep or not? Or did she do this, did they do that or not? How come they remember you all the time?
Because of
Love.
they love
Love.
Because they love
Love.
you. Yes, because they love you. And that is the kind of love we need to build for Krishna. We should always, that is what Krishna consciousness is. To build that love for Krishna. Understand? And only when we have that love for Krishna is there any chance that when the surprise test of our death happens, that we'll be able to remember him. Right? Because you'll be like, oh, Mataji, 23 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds. I did bhakti. 1 second I was listening to some like Bollywood song, and that is when death will come. That is when the surprise test will happen. Right? So cannot afford that. 24/7. Kalam nayet akhilam ityupadesh saram. The essence of all advice is to remember him 24/7. That is Ananya Bhakti. Without deviation. Cent percent engaged. Anyabhilashita shunyam. Any other desire is zilch, zero, nil. No material interest. Not doing bhakti because I want to get some material gains. No. Uninterrupted service. Remember we studied in Bhagavatam 1-8. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje ahaitukya pratihata ya yatma suprasidati. Ahaitukya pratihata. Unalloyed, no reason to do this service, to build this love. Pratihata, it's not interrupted. Service that is not interrupted, service that has no other reason for it except for love. That is what bhakti is. Doing that 24/7 is Ananya Bhakti. That is a pure devotee. Understand the meaning of pure devotee? Who does this is a pure devotee. That is a pure devotee of the Lord. Pure devotee of the Lord is not, oh, I did my 64 rounds today, or I read Prabhupada's books, I'm done. No, that is a purifying stage. All of that we are doing so we can build love for Krishna. Gradually all of that will gradually make us pure and pure so we can rekindle our pure love for Krishna. But the goal is to build that love for Krishna that all the time we are just serving him. Mama is always thinking of you, right? Even if she's in a different place, she'll be like, did you eat properly? Did you do this? Did you do that? Always she's thinking of you, right? Only because of love. Love is what is needed. So everything that we are doing, the goal is to build love for Krishna. Okay, I spent a lot of time on this and we're running short on time, so we need to move on. But yes, so even in Kunti Maharani's prayers we study, remember, where she says, may my Gange Vaugha Mudhanvati, where she says, may my mind without any deviation go to you just as a river goes to the ocean. Even Kunti Maharani's prayer, this comes up. So this Ananya Bhakta, Ananya Chetasaha is a very important phrase. Okay, every time you read this, you should remember Krishna means undeviated bhakti. Without any impurity, without any mixture, no alloy, nothing at all, undeviated. So very important. Okay, this is a very important verse. Why? Because this is where, okay, so this is the 350th verse of Bhagavad Gita, which means this is the middlemost verse. This and the next verse are the, remember I've been talking about heart, pearl, everything. This is the heart of the heart of the heart of the heart of Bhagavad Gita. These two verses, 9:13 and 9:14, the most important verses, the heart of Bhagavad Gita. And this is where Krishna confidentially talks about Radharani. So Radharani is not mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, but this is where there's a reference to Radharani. And it's a beautiful verse, and I'll just read it for you because we're running low on time. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaah bhajante ananya manaso gyatva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So this Daivim Prakritim, this internal potency of the Lord is Radharani. Okay, remember the internal potency can also be divided into Sat, Chit and Haladini. Some with Sandhini and Haladini, right? So that Haladini potency, that pleasure potency is Radharani. So what this verse says is that the Mahatmas or the devotees are under the supreme protection and the supreme guidance of Srimati Radharani. So imagine, in the heart of Bhagavad Gita, there's a confidential reference to Radharani. Because here Krishna is saying that all of these devotees, these Mahatmas, are under the protection of the Daivi Prakriti, which is Radharani. And see, that is why the beauty is that Krishna is Madan Mohan, right? One who attracts even Cupid. Everyone can fall in love with Krishna. What is Radharani? Madan Mohan Mohini. Yes, that she can attract even Krishna. That is the beauty of devotional service. So devotional service, because the Mahatmas, the devotees are under the guidance of Radharani, Krishna becomes their servant. Krishna gets attracted by the devotional service. And who are these Mahatmas? Remember you read in the 7th chapter, 7:19? bahunam janma namante gyanvan mam prapatyate vasudevam sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha. These Mahatmas are the great souls who are Ananya Bhaktas. Understand? So when you hear Mahatma, it's not Mahatma Gandhi Mahatma. It's the Ananya Bhakta Mahatma. Okay? These pure devotees of the Lord who are under the protection of Radharani. And that's why, a lot of times people say, oh, if Radharani wishes, I can stay in Vrindavan. Cannot do anything without Radharani's wishes. There's a beautiful bhajan that's written by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that Prabhupada used to sing. Beautiful bhajan, which is I wish some of you heard this. Krishna tava punya be bhai, Krishna tava punya be bhai. Beautiful bhajan where he says Krishna tava punya habe bhai. Krishna will only be merciful on you if Radharani is agreeable. If Radharani wants, only then will Krishna be merciful towards you. जे पुण्य करी रे राधा रानी सुखी होवे ध्रुवायति बोली तो माता. So he says only if Radha Rani is happy with you do you have any chance of getting Krishna's mercy. And that is why the devotees are under Radha Rani's protection. Understand? And Krishna is himself drawn by Radharani, himself drawn by devotional service, himself drawn by the devotees of the Lord. It's a beautiful verse. All right. So, as a living entity, we are in the middle of this constant tug of war. On one side, there is Maya. On the other side, there is devotional service. Constant tug of war, constant tug of war. But how is it that we can get over Maya? How is it we can surpass Maya? Which verse in the 7th chapter tells us we can surpass Maya? 7:14. These are important verses. These should be on your tips. Even if you don't remember the verse, try to understand the meaning. Devi Haisha Gunmai Mam Maya Duratyaya. What's next? Mameva Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. One who surrenders to me can easily surpass this material nature of mine, which is otherwise very difficult to overcome. So what is Krishna saying? How do you win this tug of war? He's saying as soon as you surrender to me, you can win over Maya. And what does that mean to surrender to him and winning over Maya? There's either his internal energy or the external energy. If you win over the external energy, clearly you're under the protection of internal energy, which is Daivim Prakriti. Right? So as soon as you win over the external energy, you're under the Radharani's protection. And how do you win over the external energy? By surrendering to Krishna. Okay, everyone with me? So this verse is talking about how devotees or ones who are always serving the Supreme Lord, Ananya Manaso, no other deviation of mind, are under the protection of Srimati Radharani. And the next verse says, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrataha. Your favorite phrase, always, again, here. Dridhavrataha. We've discussed this quite a bit, remember? Dridhavrataha. Fixed up in devotion. Namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. So, see, it's very important. So many times Krishna is saying Satatam means always. Dridhavrata, constantly fixed up. Nitya yukta, always fixed. So that's why it's important to understand when we talk about pure bhakti, unalloyed devotion, it is not, oh, turn my 2 hours of chanting done, 1 hour of reading done, finish. No. Kirtaniya sadahari. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction is what? Trinadapi sunichena, tarorapi saheshrana, amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadahari. He's not saying kirtaniya 16 rounds hari. No, he's not saying kirtaniya 64 rounds hari. He's saying kirtaniya sadahari. Always remember the Lord. In fact, I was reading a passage which was beautiful. Prabhupada was talking about one of the devotees, one of the female devotees. And he says she is going to go back to Krishna. And the devotee says, why Prabhupada? And he says, because I've seen her do service. Even when she's doing any service, she's always chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So I've seen she's always chanting. So she's definitely going back to Krishna. Okay, that's why you'll see a lot of times devotees, even when they're doing DT service, any service, they'll constantly keep chanting. Because they're always remembering the Supreme Lord. Because it's Kirtaniya Sadahari. And how can you do Kirtaniya Sadahari? How can you do Kirtaniya Sadahari? Tranadapi Sunichena. By being extremely humble. Tarorapi Saheshrana, by being extremely tolerant. Amanina Manadena, by not expecting any respect but giving all respect to others. That's how you can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Kirtaniya Sadahari. Okay, so we try to follow in the footsteps of the great devotees, especially Prabhupada. We try to follow in his footsteps to learn how to always engage everything in Krishna's service. Like we are the very, very lucky that we've got such a great example in Prabhupada in how to spend an entire life in pure devotional service. Okay, so we try to follow in their footsteps. One very important thing actually, I was listening to a lecture where they say that, just like different gods have different vehicles. So Durga Ma will come on a tiger, Saraswati Ma on a swan. Krishna's vehicle is, what is Krishna's Vahan vehicle?
Garuda.
Garuda, yeah. So Bhakti Devi's vehicle is humility. So what draws Bhakti Devi is humility. So humility is the most important characteristic of a devotee. Remember, that's why we also studied that verse. What was that verse? That knowledge and humility go hand in hand. What was that verse? Pandita Samadarshana verses. Anyone remember that? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. Vidya is knowledge, Vinaya is humility. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. The sign of someone who's very knowledgeable and realized is humility. Okay? Very important for all of you, especially at this age, it's very important for all of you to learn that humility is the most important characteristic of a devotee. Okay, so what have we studied? We've studied about how these Ananya Bhaktas, they are always chanting my glories. They're always working really hard for me, bowing down towards me. They're perpetually always worshipping me with great devotion. And Ambarish Maharaj is a great example of this. Srila Prabhupada is a great example of this. Engaging everything you have in the Supreme Lord service. Okay, so these two verses are very important. 350th and 351st verse. 350th verse talking about how devotees are under the protection of Srimati Radharani. 351st verse talking about how the devotees are always chanting. So beautiful, right? So the internal two verses talking about Radharani and Kirtan. Very beautiful. Okay, next one, can someone read? Who will read? Lokesh. Lokesh, are you here? Yes.
Yes. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupassate tesam nityabhiyutanam yogasemam vahami aham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have.
Yes. This is again a very, very important verse. And in this verse, Krishna is saying that if you are always worshipping me with exclusive devotion, so this exclusive devotion is very important. Exclusive. Again, see, Krishna is saying ananyash chintayanto mam. Exclusive. So he's not saying, okay, you worship me, but you also worship Shiva, or sometimes you also worship, Durga Devi. No, he's saying exclusively, only me. I should be your one true love. Not like, oh, I love you, but I also love 10 other people. No. I have to be your exclusive lover. Right? So he's saying only me. If you exclusively worship me, then be assured that I will give you full protection. And what does that mean? He says, so this is beautiful. I carry what you lack and I will preserve what you have. Right? So this is in terms of spiritual requirements. So he's saying whatever requirements you need to grow in your spiritual life, I will carry that. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham. Vahamyam means to carry. I will carry that. I will bring that. Yoga kshemam. I will protect whatever it is you have. And that's why, remember, we studied Swalpasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. That even if you do a little bit devotional service, it is never lost. Right? Next life, you'll be able to pick it up again. The spiritual bank account, the balance only increases, never decreases. Remember, we also studied in the 6th chapter how next life you'll take birth in a pious family. You'll take birth in a family where there's more chance of, it's more conducive to spiritual development. So he's saying, I'll preserve whatever you have in your spiritual life and I'll give you whatever it is that you need to grow more. So this is Krishna's full protection. In fact, one of the limbs of surrender, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written a beautiful book, Sharanagati, of bhajans, where he describes the process of surrender, Sharanagati, which has 6 limbs. One of the limbs of Sharanagati, of surrender, is to have complete faith that Krishna will protect me. Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. In fact, the most perfect example of this mentality is the cows in Vrindavan. They're so carefree. They're like, oh, Krishna is our Gopal. Krishna will protect me. That is the mentality of complete protection, complete faith that Krishna will protect me. Yes, Bhavya.
Maharaj, last line, I carry what they lack and preserve what they have, is sad from the spiritual point of view, right?
Yes, of
Not from the
course.
material point of view,
No,
because
because
then
material. Yes, because
dhanam cha
material point.
manam cha, everything taking away.
Yeah,
That's
no, because see, material he's anyway providing everyone. He's
yes.
providing. In fact, there's a verse where he says, "I'm equal to all." Well, yes, because when it rains for everyone. It doesn't say, "Oh, I'll only rain for Nishita and Vishnupriya Mataji today, not for anyone else." No, right? It rains. All the material requirements are equal for everyone. That's why Prabhupada says, "Why do you have to labor so hard for food? Even an elephant will get its food. Even an ant will get its food. There's enough for everyone's need. There's never enough for anyone's greed. But there's enough for everyone's need. So this is all for your spiritual requirement. That's why he says, Yoga Kshemam. Right? Yoga is spiritual union with him. Okay. Can someone read this next verse? Yes, Priyangi.
येऽप्यन्या देवता भक्ता यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्वितः तेऽपि माम् एव कौन्तेय यजन्त्वविधिपूर्वकम्. Translation: wrong way of worshipping Krishna. Translation: those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way.
Very important. Right? Because we get a lot of times we get questions from our family members and others to be like, why not demigod worship? So well, Krishna is clearly saying, very clearly, explicitly saying in this verse 923, if you're worshipping demigods, you're worshipping me, but avidhi purvakam, in a wrong way. So again, important for us to understand this. Remember, we said that Krishna is a supreme prime minister and all of these are ministers in his government. Right? Just like the analogy we often use that if you've got a tree, these are the different branches or leaves of the tree. So if you water the tree, the leaves will automatically get satisfied. They will also get nutrition. Right? So the goal is, even in this government, the goal is to just serve the supreme, and that should automatically satisfy all the officers. So Krishna is saying, see, at the end of the day, I am the one who's responsible for everyone. Everyone's a part of me. The goal is to satisfy me. So if you're trying to satisfy the demigods also, at the end, goal is to satisfy me only. But when you're doing that, you're worshipping me, but in a wrong way. Why is it a wrong way? So it's like saying that, okay, taking Indian government as an example. Narendra Modi is the head, right? So he's got member of parliaments. At the end of the day, the member of parliaments have to do what Mr. Modi is saying. But if you give your member of parliament, yeah, please take this like $100,000 and do something for me. Is bribing legal or illegal? Is bribing legal or illegal? Should they be doing, if I give them extra money, should they be doing something for me? Should they not?
No.
They should not, right? It's illegal. They should only be doing what's right based on the law and what the Supreme, what Mr. Modi wants. Right? So that's why it's very explicitly said that bribing the Supreme Lord's officers is illegal. It's avidhi purvakam. Because the idea is that you should see, we will anyway, all the material rewards we will get based on our karmas, based on our past karmas that is anyway decided for us. That's why all the worshipping we do should be for the Supreme Lord, who's the root of the tree. So he's saying if you end up worshipping the demigods, well, eventually I am the one who's the enjoyer, the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices. So you're serving me only, but in an indirect, in a wrong way. So why do that? And the classic example of this is Govardhan Leela. Right? In Govardhan Leela, that's what Krishna says. Why are you serving Indra? Because Indra anyway has to reign based on your activities. Indra has to provide the rains. So might as well serve Govardhan, which is non-different from me. Right? And that is the classic example of how it is illegal to bribe the ministers of the Lord, and how we should be worshipping the Supreme Lord. Because at the end of the day, He's the one who's figuring out everything. He's the one who can give us the extra benefit as well. Right? If we do devotional service unto Him. Okay. So again, this is an important verse. So, a lot of times people say, oh, it's okay, whatever path you follow, eventually everyone same destination only. Whatever you do, demigods also, it's okay, same destination only. So here Krishna is very clearly saying no. Based on the kind of worshipping you're doing, there'll be a different destination. Right? So remember we said some people think he's a fool. Some foolish people think that he's just an ordinary human. Right? They deride him, they make fun of him. Some people are Ananya Bhaktas. Some people do demigod worship. Some people praise worship as universal form. Some people are impersonalists. So he's saying no. Based on your worship, you will get a different destination. And we learned about this a little bit in the 8th chapter also. Remember, we studied how the impersonalists go to Brahma Jyoti, the devotees go to Vaikuntha. So can someone read this verse? Who is this? Can I? Okay, Avigyan can.
Bhutani yanti bhuteya yanti madhyajinopimam. Translation. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors will go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me.
Yes. So very easy to understand because it goes hand in hand with what we studied also, that if you worship someone, well, you'll remember them at their time of death and your next birth will be with them. But so it's very important because so far see Krishna is talking a lot about his personal form, which is the Sham Sundar form, the supreme personality, right? That that when he appears like this, people deride him. But if you worship him with constant devotion, chanting his glories, bowing down to him, constantly endeavoring, then you will come to him and you will live with him at the end of this life. Yes, Bhavya?
Mataji, here it is mentioned. Can you go back to the slide?
Yes.
Here it is written that those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. But our ancestors have died. Yes, their soul is there, but they are also playing their own roles, right? So how can we go there?
What he means is that they are in the Pitra Loka. Right? So he's saying
Okay.
you will go to the Pitra Loka.
Okay.
You're worshipping the ancestors. Okay. So far we just completed the 3rd section. So remember first section, the prerequisites for hearing the knowledge. Second section, the inconceivable Lord. And 3rd section is talking about how different people realize him differently, and that's the kind of worship they do, and that's what determines the destination. Now he's talking about, so far he's focused a lot on his personal form. In the beginning, he said, okay, you have to have faith, you cannot be envious, and then I'll share this knowledge with you. Right? And then he talks about his personal form as to what is it, using his energies, he pervades everything, but he's also not personally present in them. How the creation and annihilation he does. He also talks about how when he appears in his human form, then fools deride him. But whoever surrenders to him, he is protected by the internal nature. And the Ananya Bhaktas are one who are constantly chanting his glories and how they come and live with him. So Krishna has established his personal form. Yeah, his Sham Sundar, supreme personality form already. So in this chapter, he's now talking about the reciprocation relationship between devotee and Krishna in his personal form. So we're talking about the glories of Krishna Bhakti in this section. So these are important bits. Let me just read them myself because we're low on time. So Krishna establishes the personal form of God to be the highest and the most complete manifestation of the Supreme. Remember, this is the Bhagavan realization, the one with 6 opulences. Now, the greater something is, the higher the qualification to achieve it. Right? So if you want to get into the best school, you have to have the best grades. If you want to buy a very big house, you have to have a lot of funds. So the greater something is, the higher the qualification is. So to approach God in this most intimate way, where he's even attracted by you, it requires the greatest qualification, which is complete purity of consciousness, free of any tinge of selfish motivation. So again, Ananya Bhakta, pure bhakti, pure devotee. Such purity is characterized by constant spiritual absorption with mind, body, and word. Okay? Mind, man, body, tan, word, vachan. Where one's entire life becomes a spiritual offering saturated with love and devotion. This is Krishna consciousness, and this is the essential teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, to always remember Krishna and to never forget him. So this is the essential teaching of Bhagavad Gita, and this is what Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not that I'm done with my 16 rounds, I'm following regulated principles, and now I'm done. That is the process Prabhupada has given us to start purifying ourselves. Actual Krishna consciousness is to constantly remember the Lord and to not have any other interest, not to have any other motivation. Okay, to be completely pure, to only want to serve the Supreme Lord. And that will only happen if we develop a pure love towards Him. Okay, so I don't think anyone has ever heard or read this verse before, so I will just say this verse myself.
Can I say it?
Yes, Avigna, go ahead.
Who knows?
Avigna, you're on mute.
Patra pushpam phalam tuyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tat aham bhaktyupahartam asami prayatatmana. Translation. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, flower, fruit, or water, I will accept.
पुष्पं फलं तोयं यो मे भक्त्या प्रक्षते तदां भक्त्योपार्थं भारतम् अश्नानि परतात्मना.
I think a few of you were reading it, but yes, Avigna, you also, I know you read the translation also. Thank you. So this is a very important verse, and see the word bhakti is coming twice, second and third verse. Krishna is not going to waste his words, right? But he's stressing how important that bhakti is by using it twice. Because what is the secret ingredient in our offering? Why does prasadam taste so nice? What is the secret ingredient? What is the extra thing that Mataji puts when she makes prasadam? Avigna, again, you keep saying that the Singapore prasadam is so tasty, you're missing it, right? So what is the extra masala that Mataji puts in that prasadam? Love. It's love. It's love and devotion. Krishna says, if one offers me with love and devotion, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or what, I will accept it. The most important ingredient is our love. Right? If I make some 5-star hotel food and I offer it to Krishna, but I'm like, oh, I'm in such a bad mood, Krishna will not accept it. See, Krishna has everything. He doesn't need our food. He doesn't need anything from us. Nothing he needs. He has all the opulences, right? That is the definition of Bhagavan, all the opulences. Then why are we offering him anything? Does he care for our offering? Does he need our offering? He already has everything he needs. But he wants our love. That's why the only thing. So these offerings are just it's like, when you take a medicine, you put it in a capsule, so you can just take the medicine. So this offering is just the capsule. The actual medicine, the actual thing that we're giving him is the love. Now love is not tangible to give him like this. So he says, okay, I'll make it easy for you. You put your love in the food and then you give it to me. But actually what he's looking for is love. That is the most important ingredient. In fact, there are so many important stories, so many important references from the Shastras that are very significant here. How many of you have read or heard of the story of Shabri? Her interaction with Lord Ram?
Mataji, I have heard.
Very good, very good. So she's this very old lady, very, very old lady, right? A cleaner lady who was told by her spiritual master that one day Lord Ram will come. One day Lord Ram will come to your little hut. So every single day, and so just like I was telling you, your surprise test, you don't know when the surprise test is going to happen. Any day can happen. So her spiritual master said, one day your Lord Ram will come to your hut. So every day she's very, very old, but every day she wakes up in the morning. She cleans her hut very, very nicely because she says, what if my Supreme Lord comes today? So every day she cleans the hut. Every day she goes and she gets these bear, these little fruits that hang in trees. Every day she gets these bear that, if my Lord Ram comes, I'll give him bear. And she keeps doing this for years and years and years. And she tells everyone that, one day my Lord will come. So many people say, oh, this lady has gone mad. She's 60 years old already. She's gone mad. She doesn't know what's going on. But she says, no, because my spiritual master told me Lord Ram will come. I know Lord Ram will come. See, that is the faith that one needs to have in the spiritual master. She says, no, because my guru told me Lord Ram will come. So I know one day Lord Ram will come. So eventually Lord Ram does come to her hut. So when he comes, she's so overwhelmed with love that she goes and she brings these bear, and she wants to make sure that none of these bear are, the bear that she's giving the Lord, she wants to make sure that none of them are sour. So she takes these bear, she tastes them herself, and then she gives it to Ram. And imagine these little bear, and she's a maidservant lady, right? So Lakshman is sitting there, and Lakshman is like, how are you eating this? But Ram is getting so much pleasure in every single bit. So it's such a beautiful scene where she's so overwhelmed and she's taking all this way, then she's tasting and she's saying, oh, okay, this is a sweet one, this one you can have, or this is not sweet, this one you cannot have. And Ram is just you can see that he is enjoying it just like he would enjoy Mother Kaushalya's food for him, right? Who was Mother Kaushalya would pour all her heart in the offering. And you can see he's enjoying it as much as he would enjoy Mother Kaushalya's food. And Lakshman is sitting there. Lakshman is like, yeah, what are you doing eating this? And he says, and Ram tells Shabri that, this reminds me of the food my mother used to make for me. Why? Not because of the bear, but because of the love. Those bear were infused with the love that Shabri had put into them. So see, the only thing that the Lord cares about is our love. That's the only thing He cares about. Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakto. He cannot be reached by the knowledge, but he can be easily approached by our love for him. In fact, okay, so there's a lot of references like this. We will run out of time if we go into this deeper. But as Prabhupada also says in the purport, the most essential thing is our love and our devotion. In fact, there's a very beautiful bhajan, Sabse Unchi Prem Sagai, which talks about these beautiful interactions with Lord and his devotees, where Sabse Unchi Prem Sagai means that the topmost of relationship, the topmost of engagement is prem, is that of love, Supreme Lord. So it talks about different ways in which Lord reciprocates with his devotees. Okay, and again, what is the goal of building this love? To remember Krishna 24/7. And the more you remember Krishna, the more you love him. See, even in this world, right, how do we build our love for someone? By learning about them. If you don't know about someone, you wouldn't necessarily love them, right? When you get to know someone more and more, you start building your love for them, right? And how do we learn about someone? By hearing, by engaging with them, by associating with them. In fact, if you look at the Rukmini and Krishna story, Rukmini, when she writes a letter to Krishna, she's never met Krishna. She's written this like very strong letter where she's saying, if you're the only one, are you already my husband? I'm not going to marry anyone else. You have to come and you have to kidnap me. She's never even met Krishna at that point, but she has heard about Krishna from Narad Muni. And that's how she develops this love. That's why hearing is so important. That's why Prabhupada stresses on Shravanam and Kirtanam. Shravanam is first in the 9 devotional process because the way to the heart is through hearing. The way you build your love for Krishna is through hearing. Okay, so that's why we are doing all of this to build our love for Krishna. And that's why he says, whatever it is you do, whatever you eat, whatever austerities you perform, everything, you do it as an offering to me, as a loving offering to me. Okay. I have 10 more slides. Madhuri, should we do next week or should we continue?
I'm okay to have it. I mean, how many more minutes? And depends on the kids. Are you available for another 10 minutes or not? Or we can go next week.
What does this
Mataji,
mean? It means next week or this week?
This week. I mean,
Mataji,
10 slides. 10 minutes maybe.
10 minutes can? Who wants to do next week?
Mataji, no, today.
Not today, is it? Okay, Ashut not.
Anyone
No, I
else?
want to do today.
Ashrit wanted to do it today. Actually, let's do it today because this 10 minutes, if we have it, will be some discontinuity. Again, we have to be starting from the beginning little. So better to finish it off today. Let's have another 10 minutes continue this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So this is and I'll just do the reading. So it's easy, it's faster. But this is an important verse where he's saying, Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mahi te teshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. Right? So Krishna, it's beautifully he's saying, Dekho, I am equal to everyone, but I'm partial to my devotees. Right? So he's saying I love everyone equally. It's like when a mom says, right, I love all my kids equally, but my favorite is the little one. Right? So Krishna is saying I'm equal to all, but I'm partial towards the devotee. I personally am a little, which as Mataji also explained, remember we studied in 411, ye yathamam prapadyante tam sadaiva bhajamyaham. Like a teacher gives the same knowledge to everyone in the class, but the student who is very sincere, who attentively hears, who really studies everything regularly, the teacher will give him special attention also. The teacher will be like, or how much more can I explain to him? That's the same thing with Krishna. So Krishna has this. So see, he's giving these material requirements to everyone. The clouds will rain on everyone. Not like they'll only rain on me and not the other person or vice versa. The material requirements are fulfilled for everyone. But Krishna has a beautiful reciprocal relationship with devotees. So, Prabhupada explains in the purport very nicely, where he says the Supreme Lord is the diamond, and a devotee, a living entity in its purified state, is like gold. So, when the devotee and the Supreme Lord engage in this reciprocal relationship, right, where the devotee starts serving the Lord, it's like a diamond in a golden ring, which glorifies both the gold and the diamond. Right? A diamond in a golden ring increases the beauty of that diamond now, also increases the beauty of the golden ring. So he's saying that is the reciprocal relationship between Krishna and the devotees. Beautiful, beautiful analogy that Prabhupada's given in the purport. So actually I'll skip the next section because that's not as important. So very important to understand here that Krishna is partial towards his devotees. He personally takes care of his devotees, personally. So even when he says, I carry what they lack, and preserve what they have, he personally cares for him. Okay, personally cares for the devotees. This is the last verse of this chapter and the most important verse of Bhagavad Gita. The most important verse. Who can read this? Avigda, you've already read a few today, right? Chetna can. Yes, Chetna. Sanyu said. Okay. Chetna can. Quickly.
Okay, Mataji. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evai shasi yuk vaivam atmanam matparayanaha. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, you will surely come to me.
Yes. Okay. This is, if there's one thing you remember from today's class, it should be this verse, where Krishna is saying, this is how you worship me directly. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. So this always thinking of Krishna is the essence of all instructions of all the scriptures. Okay? Man mana, bhav mad bhakto, become my devotee. Madhyaji is to offer, to worship me. Mam namaskuru is to offer obeisances unto me. Okay, so he's saying this is a very practical application. So when people say, na, a lot of times these new age spiritual teachers say, oh, I tried to make Bhagavad Gita practical for these people. You should be like, Bhagavad Gita is already practical. Look at 9:14, look at 9:34. Krishna is clearly saying, you worship me, you chant my glories, you offer obeisances to me, you think of me. How much more practical can you make it? Okay, so very important verse. In fact, later we'll see there's another place where Krishna says the exact same thing. So that's how important this instruction is. Mad mana bhav mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru. So this is how we worship Krishna directly. And a perfect example to learn from, to figure out how we can worship Krishna directly, is Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada's entire life is an example of devotional service. See, be it mad mana, mad yaji, mam namaskuru. And anyway, he is the pure devotee. He's an Ananya Bhakta of the Lord. But see, his entire life is an example of devotional service. In fact, as Krishna says in this verse, he says, being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. Even the way Srila Prabhupada left his body, right? He stopped his pastimes in the material world, is an example and a pretty instructive example for us in how to lead our lives. That surely he's gone back to Krishna and engaging in Nitya Leela with Krishna. There's so many beautiful things we can learn from his interactions with devotees, where at one point he also said that, I did not want to come to this material world. But obviously he did, because he was the one who was going to spread the Hare Krishna movement, Krishna consciousness to across all the oceans, right? Because before him it was only limited to the Indian subcontinent. But his entire life, and if you think about how much pain he took just for us. He was anyway engaging with Krishna. He was associating with Krishna as a cowherd boy in Vaikuntha already. So he appeared in this material world. So much pain he took, suffered 2 heart attacks on the Jaladhuta. Even the pain that he went through towards the end of his life. Everything. For what? For us. Everything, all the pain he took was just for us. Even until his last breath, he was translating Srimad Bhagavad. Until the last breath. Why? For us. So we can learn about Krishna, so we can learn about this knowledge, so we can apply it in our life, so we can become devotees. And obviously, like, our entire life is not enough to read, to consume, to understand the knowledge Prabhupada has left in his books, in his lectures, in his conversations that were recorded, in everything. And imagine he only did that in a span of 10 or 15 years. And that is the beauty of Acharya, someone who shows it with his personal example. So we are just so lucky that we've got someone like Srila Prabhupada to directly learn from. The perfect practical examples. Anyone who says, no, I need help me understand how to practically apply Bhagavad Gita, say study Prabhupada's life. The perfect practical example of how to apply and how to realize, how to understand, how to practice Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so this is very important verse. And one more thing before I close it is this verse, which is one of my favorite verses. One of my favorite verses across everything that I've studied. This is from Gita Mahatmya, and Mataji covered this in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita. So Gita Mahatmya are these 7 verses which are glorifying Bhagavad Gita, which are written by Adi Shankaracharya. Right? Where this is the 6th verse and one of my favorite verses. The verse goes, Sarvopanishado gavo dogdha gopal nandanaha Partho vatsa sudhi bhokta dugdham gita amritam mahat. So let me explain it to you. Sarva Upanishado means Sarva Upanishad, all the Upanishads, which is the entirety of the Vedic literature. Our entire life is not enough to study these literatures. Sarva Upanishado gavo. So all of these literatures is like cow. Sarva Upanishado gavo. Dogdha Gopal Nandana. Dogdha is a milkman. Gopal Nandan. Gopal is Nand Maharaj. Gopal Nandan is Krishna. So Krishna is the milkman for this cow of the entirety of the spiritual literature. Next one. Partho Vatsaha Sudhir Bhokta. Partha is Arjun. Vatsaha is calf. Sudhir Bhokta. Sudhir Bhokta are the devotees. Dugdham Gita Mritam Mahat. Dugdham, milk. Gita Mritam Mahat. So, just like a cow's essence is the milk, which is drawn by a milkman, the essence of all the Vedic literature is Bhagavad Gita, which is drawn by Krishna because of Arjun and is now relished by all the devotees of the Lord. Which is such a beautiful verse, where it is saying that the essence of all scriptures is the Bhagavad Gita. And if you understand this, the essence of all Upanishads, of all scriptures, is Bhagavad Gita. The essence of Bhagavad Gita is Bhakti Yoga, chapter 7 to 12. The essence of chapter 7 to 12 is chapter 9 and 10. The essence of chapter 9 and 10 is Bhagavad Gita 9.34. Man mana bhav mad bhakto mad yaji mam namaskuru. That's how important this verse is, okay? And with that, we finish our chapter 9. Very important chapter, lots of very important verses, most confidential. And see, Krishna is saying it is most confidential. It means it must be the closest thing to his heart. When I say, okay, this is a very important secret for me, very important. It's the secret. Remember, we always say, okay, this is a secret. I'm keeping it close to my heart. So this chapter must be so close to his heart. So we're getting to see Krishna's heart in this chapter. That's how important this is. Okay? I'm so sorry I went over by 20 minutes, but this is a beautiful chapter.
Late also because of the previous revision of chapter 8. So I think it's worth to spend a little more time. Actually, we should be spending more and more time. We're restricting ourselves weekly 1-2 hours, but this is really great. Thank you so much for patiently attending these kids. Also, 2 hours is not easy because every school also, I think mostly 45 minutes to 1 hour is the one subject period, right? But we are taking 2 hours at length, but you are still fully focusing, attentively attending the classes. Very important, very nice. Thank you so much. And I think we will do a quick revision also next week on chapter 9, which is very most important verses. Mataji said, right? Essence of essence of essence of essence, like 7.7. So we will definitely go through again. And I think we don't have time for questions this week. Next week we can do it. Okay. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
See you all next week. Hare Krishna. Jai Shila Prabhupada.
Jai Shri